Hello and welcome to Decorated. I'm Wes, this is Mary, and this is episode 3 where we're going to talk about decorative grips. So, Mary, what is your favorite decorative grip to make? Be it style, material, the if you had to pick one type of decorative grip that you could only do the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, that's tough. I have quite a few that are like my faves.
No, pick one.
I guess I would have to say EVA.
Just
I think doing like EVA grips, whether it's overlays or doing inlays into them.
you're still too broad. I need you to narrow that down. So, are you talking plain EVA that's just colored? Are you talking EVA that has special trim pieces put into it? Are you talking random abstracts? Are you talking lava lamps? Are
That's
you
what I
talking
just said.
kaleidoscopes? Are you talking what type of EVA grip would you choose? Pick
I
one.
I just said what I would do. You can't put me in a box to only be able to do one over and over and over again. I'll stop doing it.
I know you'll stop doing that, but I'm saying like if you could only pick one to do.
But you're saying pick one and only do that style, right?
If you had to, yes. Not that you have to do that, just that would mean that that is your ultimate favorite one to do because you enjoy doing it that much. I have one.
I'm gonna have to say leather. I'm changing my answer.
What style of leather?
Well,
There's
all
all
like the
different versions of doing leather
I like
grips.
to do the tooled ones, like the sugar skulls and like Hulkbuster and your version that you did for the beach rod
Okay.
for South
So
Carolina.
you would prefer to tool the leather and wrap it around and make a scene or a picture on it.
Yes, for personal preferences, but if I'm trying to pick one that the public's going to be more into, more so than the leather grips, it's going to be like EVA stuff
Okay.
because that's going to be pretty common grip EVA, and it's going to be inlays and overlays and just manipulating it all the way around. Like I can't just my personal favorite would be leather, but like one that makes sense for the public is going to be EVA.
But what about if it's a fly rod?
Well, I mean, there's always going to be issues with whatever one you pick for the rest of your life because they don't all apply to all builds.
You
You
could
know,
use leather for all rods.
I don't feel like it's a comfort thing on some particular style fishing. Not to mention you have to be okay with that, like that seam on the back of it, which I feel like it sits in my palm fine.
Not necessarily, because then that gets into the style that I like to do, which is braiding the leather strips.
Well, yeah, you can braid leather.
If I could, I'd do that. That'd be the only grip anybody ever got.
They used to wrap leather too.
Mm-hmm. Where they do the spiral around the top.
Mm-hmm. They did that on a lot of like big rods.
Mm-hmm.
It was easily replaceable whenever it got torn up.
So we've talked about EVA. We've
Mm-hmm.
talked about leather. What are some other materials that you have seen or have done yourself for custom grips?
Well, cork. Cork is another one. I played around with wood, but not actually built with it. But cork's pretty fun. This past one that I worked on, I tried to do like a fade with different styles of cork. It was very expensive purchase to get all the colors and shades and the kind of fading out that I was trying to get, but it ended up looking really cool.
Let's touch on cork a little. There's different densities
Mm-hmm.
with cork.
And quality of it.
Obviously, everybody that sells cork tries to say that this is top floor cork, and it pretty much doesn't exist anymore. Just, I'm going to be honest. I have yet to see a bag of top floor that is true top floor cork.
Why do you say that?
Because in my opinion, top floor
Just
might have 1 to 5 holes that you can visibly see in that cork.
right.
It is all but solid. It's hard to find that
Oh.
and get an entire bag of it. I'd be willing to pay the price if somebody could supply it.
Stuff that looks like that. I mean, it's somewhere. It can be found somewhere. You're just not sure where to get it.
It can, but 9 times out of 10, the process of trying for the manufacturer to actually be able to supply that, they think that they're not going to be able to charge enough to get it. Whereas if I could get 100 rings of true top floor that almost looks as solid as this cup, I'd pay what they're asking for it because it's that much better quality. Because when I go to sand it, I don't like to see the lines running down it. That's why I'll go to burl and go to birch bark and that type of materials. Because when I see those lines in the cork, once you've sanded it, it makes me feel like it's a cheap pre-made handle.
I can see where you're going with that. But at the same time, there's good quality. I had some top floor in that build actually,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked good.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't perfect, but I mean,
Mm-mm.
it was definitely better quality
I
than the
would have
rest
called
of
that
it.
floor though, based on how I see top floor. Like,
Yeah. But Cork's really fun to work with, in my opinion. It's not too bad to do. Everything you get the rings in. Now they've got some blocks, so if you want to play around with like doing inlays or something into the cork, or and then turning it down, you have that option. They're kind of hard to find though, in the size that you would need. But I mean, putting gluing the rings up and everything's not. It's not terrible
mm-mm.
at all.
And I like to work with cork blocks and treat it the same way you do EVA.
Or wood
Mm-hmm.
grips. You do the same.
So why is it? And this is going to kind of broaden a little bit. Why is it that you see majority of fly rods with cork grips of some shape or style?
Well, that's kind of the traditional thing that goes on them. First off.
And
And it's they were the lightweight issue, wanting it to be the lightest material possible.
and
What?
the
What else?
density.
The density of it.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you, and that's
It's part
something
of
you have
that's
to take
part of the
into,
weight.
well, it's something you have to take into consideration when doing custom grips. The density of the material that you're using directly correlates to how you're fishing with it. On a fly rod, you want that density of cork or a little stiffer because of the motions you're using when casting. You're constantly casting.
It's ergonomics at that point.
Yeah, it's the grip ergonomics. Tom was touching it on it with Bill's podcast, which is what made me think about it. It's why when we did that 12 weight, we did birch bark and burl and cork and all of that instead of going our traditional route of using foam or something like that.
Well, that build didn't call for it. That's what, like, there's certain things that, I mean, yeah, you could put EVA on it, but what does it do? What does it do to change?
Is it going to fish the way it should? Is the bigger question.
Yeah, like, does it change how it performs? Does it change how it feels in your hand?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know because I don't fly fish,
and
so
I've actually seen.
I have no idea.
There's other materials now that are coming to the table, so to speak. 3D printed handles.
There's acrylic handles.
Acrylic. Yep.
The 3D printed ones,
I see them more on ice rods than anything else.
like, they intrigue me, but at the same time they don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
I feel like, because most of the time it's printed in like one solid color, and sometimes
it's kind
people
of a pain to change the filaments.
and sometimes people will come back and like paint them or do something to them. And I just, for the most part, the ones that I have seen, I haven't liked the style of them or the shape, I guess.
Well, that all comes down to the CAD design when you're doing it.
Yeah, and I know that's way beyond what I'm capable of even imagining or even putting on there. Like, programming stuff's just not my thing.
It's fun.
It's all about numbers, and nope.
I like math.
We mentioned wood, but there's so many different types of wood and ways to do wood handles.
And majority of the time, from what I know, you typically want to stay towards the harder woods so that it turned easier.
And I turned it, and that was drastically different than what I'm used to doing because I'm used to turning cork and EVA, and those are very soft materials and they turn really fast. And then you switch over to wood, and it's like, that's when you really have to make sure you got your safety precautions in hand because anything can.
And a lot of people are taking cork and wood and acrylic and combining it together.
Oh, you can just do all kinds of combos.
But what's the number one thing, if somebody's listening to this and wanting to try and mix materials, what's the number one thing they have to watch out for?
That they all turn at different rates.
Densities.
So, you might have cork and EVA put together. The cork's going to turn faster than the EVA is going to.
Yep.
And
then that's when you get those like waves and dips in the grip that you don't realize are there till you go to grab it and you're like, oh hell.
Mm-hmm. And also when you start gluing up different densities, depending on what they are, you can feel that hard glue line in between it, and the change is sometimes uncomfortable. There's carbon fiber.
And you can do custom shaped carbon fiber grips by doing the foam core inserts.
And you can also change the color of them too.
And then you can take the color of the carbon fiber, have it one color, do a clear coat over top that adds a tint to it, and change the color all over again. I've seen people take cork and paint it, put a resin over top of it. I've seen people take cork and tattoo images into it.
Oh yeah, there's a guy
Or
Jim.
burn it into it. You
Jim
can do the
Johnson.
same thing with the wood.
Yeah, Jim Johnson is the one that is on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
He has all those
All
pictures
the
of fish.
And I've
Timmy
seen people
Grips or
take
something.
EVA and cut out and put acrylic, or not acrylic, put epoxy and color it and seal it that way.
Nuno has that where he wrote about taking the EVA grip and putting resin, or no, it wasn't resin. He was painting inside of what he cut out and to customize the EVA.
That's an issue of rod maker. I'm looking around the shop seeing what else we've done.
Paracord. Paracord. Forgot about paracord.
Atwood cord, the real thin. You can doing Turk's knots, and you can actually braid the paracord in specific designs. We've done that several times.
Shrink tube.
Yep, shrink tube over top of cord in specific designs.
So that you have
straight wrapped. And
different grips, feeling in your hand and such.
Oh, I know one. You don't see it that often. Flocked.
Flocked. Yep,
Flocked grips. It's kind of like a velvety, fuzzy feeling.
Yeah, they always looked weird to me. I didn't want to touch them.
So we've pretty much covered all the bases as far as different types.
You can have antlers. Some people have like antler pieces that they've embedded.
Yeah, dude, I forgot about that. I have seen that where somebody took like a larger deer or elk antler and corded out and did that as a grip.
Or they put snake skin over a grip.
Yeah, I've seen alligators as grips.
Back
when that guy was doing the wild and crazy grips and all, and then he just kind of screwed every one of his customers over and disappeared.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
I mean, the sky's the limit, honestly.
If
Like,
it's
can use anything. I've seen metal grips. What do you think a aluminum butt is? It's still a grip, technically speaking. You can grab it and use it to fish, but...
You've got one.
I mean, I put a metal butt on the surf rod. I'm going to hold that every time I cast it. Like...
Yeah, but you're not casting it that often. So the weight of that is...
Yeah, but when you cast it, you have to hold that grip, so...
But now you just made a stronger pendulum point where it's just...
I mean, literally, the sky's the limit. If you can think that, hey, this could be a good... You can use a wine bottle, just looking at that one sitting over there.
There was somebody that used to come to the show, or they would post. I can't remember which one it was. I thought it was in person that I saw them, but they were taking actual bottles and making it grips. But I thought, dang, don't drop it.
Right.
Because the first time you do, it's going to...
But you can use anything. If you can put it on a rod, it could be a grip. Will it be comfortable? Try it and find out.
To be determined. But, I mean, the most realistic ones, the most common grips are going to be...
Cork, foam, wood, carbon fiber.
Paracord's pretty common.
Paracord, especially on the West Coast, you'll see a lot more cord because of their style of fishing.
And
There's the solid, like instead of doing the foam core carbon fiber with like the carbon fiber overlaid and then you seal it, there's the carbon fiber pre-mades that are coming out from companies, and like the American Tackle Suka handle. It's still a carbon fiber grip.
And you don't have to just stick with that. You can, take that piece and cut it apart, put in extra
Or use the
white, like silver trim bands or something to like put it back together. You'd have to...
Or go to the G2 style where it's separate pieces that you can make it look like a solid piece if you want to, or take out different pieces and use different materials in different spots.
Yeah, there's no reason why you can't cut it apart and put it back together with different materials to do things with. And that really goes for any material. There's no reason why you can't cut it apart and put it back together with something or add something to it.
Who's to say you couldn't take cardboard and stack it together and seal it? And...
If it's impregnated with resin, it's actually pretty tough.
Exactly.
We had tried that. We had somebody else pour it for us, but the resin with the pine cone was going to turn it down.
There's still some over there.
Yeah, we have a ton of it. I've got another one that I've got the gold flake one that I still have to figure out what to do, but I have to buy different materials to turn it because we don't have the carbide tips to turn the acrylic.
It's just money.
It is just money. I just haven't had time to buy it, or Plus, I have to be wary because that stuff is not good to be breathing in.
It's a little toxic, and
I got dogs that are in the shop,
dogs can't be in here.
The 4-year-old that's in and out all day long. Like I can't just.
That's a next year this time project. So, out of all of those materials, which one would you say you're most interested to try and do?
What, like to learn next?
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards like acrylic or wood. one of those two materials, just because of the metal inlays have always intrigued me in the wood, and I kind of got started on one, but I didn't finish it. But I was told I should have finished it because it was pretty good, and I didn't think it was. I like that idea, but I also like the idea of burning into the wood, because like wood burning has become like, I've always wanted to do it. I just never had an opportunity to try it.
Don't lie.
And
you just like the smell of wood burning.
I do like the smell of wood burning. It reminds me
You
of
just want to
campfires.
sit in here and you can sit here and draw a circle in the wood, just be happy.
I want to smell it smoldering. No, I like the idea of being able to learn that. I mean, granted, I've worked with cork before, but at the same time, I've always just wanted to do different colored inlays and stuff with it.
So what I want to do, and it's kind of ironic because I don't have any personally. I want a tattoo gun.
Why do you want a tattoo gun?
Because I want to tattoo cork.
What?
I've always had the idea to take cork and a tattoo gun and tattoo the cork.
I don't think you'd be able to tattoo cork.
Why not?
Because you need you need like some sort of skin. That's why you could do it on leather. You need something with like
leather.
Cork's really tough about taking color. Like, I don't know how the people are doing it now, but you can put like a stain over it, and eventually it's going to disappear unless you seal it in some way, shape, or form.
You're rubbing it off, but
it doesn't absorb into the material. So I would feel like even though you were punching the ink into it, it technically wouldn't take it. But I don't know.
So, what is your least favorite material so far to work with?
That I've worked with and I don't like.
That you have actually had hands-on with and least favorite?
Birch bark.
Why?
Because it snaps so easy.
Glue, clamp.
Because it snaps so damn easy. Like, literally.
But you just glue it back.
The grip, I understand that, but that's aggravating. Because it's just like, you're trying to take it off and you're being gentle as possible, and it just.
You know what's aggravating?
What?
EVA foam.
To an extent. I love doing inlays.
If you apply the wrong amount of pressure in the wrong spot, then it stays that way once you glue it. I've had it happen so many times. And
are you talking about it contorting?
Yeah.
And changing the shape? Well, yeah.
Or twisting. And
well,
that's why I like birch bark and cork and leather and wood.
Leather stretches, though.
Yeah, and that's why I like to braid it, because I have to stretch it to do it.
I know, that braid does look pretty good, and it feels good in your hand, too.
It feels awesome.
I don't like working with birch bark because it snaps so easy. Is it easy to do? More like a pain in the butt to do because of how many like thin pieces that you have to cut and stack and clamp and all that other stuff.
But if you notice, when we did that one, I just put gloves on and went at it. Like,
I know.
You gonna get dirty. And
I ain't worried about that.
The next time we do birch bark, can we please try to not use the foaming Gorilla Glue? That was a total catastrophe of a mess.
But you have to, because it has to get all in those cracks.
It worked great, and it looks great.
That's why.
And you can't hardly see the lines in it other than the different shades of birch bark.
Which is the point. Yep.
Oh my God, the mess.
But you got to do
my
it.
My fingers were glued together through the gloves for a week.
No. You're dramatic. You weren't wearing gloves.
I still had
3
sticky
weeks.
spots a week later.
I know you had sticky spots, but you just take some stuff and remove it. I got some stuff now that take that crap off.
Yeah, gasoline.
No,
diesel.
Not gasoline. But no, you got to use the foam and stuff so it goes all the way through. And
I know.
It fills in the gaps.
You got to, but
you're just gonna deal with it. It's gonna be messy. But I don't like the fact they break so easy when you're trying to work with them.
Yeah, you got to be delicate.
And then every
especially
time
trying to ream it out to fit without stretching it.
And every time that it snaps, you have another glue line that you have to try to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's just my least favorite.
Okay. It's understandable.
I also don't like, out of the order that I've worked with, birch bark, cork, EVA, leather, least favorite. 4 being my least favorite to 1 being my favorite. Kind of do that backwards, but whatever.
So birch bark your least.
Yep.
Then cork.
Yep.
Then EVA.
Yep.
Then leather.
Yep. Out of the things I've worked with.
Well, you've worked with wood. What about it?
I can't put wood in that category because I've only turned 1 thing.
Yeah, but you've worked with it.
Okay,
based
fine.
On your
That's
experience.
the 5th one. That's the 5th one. So it goes, wood is my least favorite, then birch bark, then cork.
Okay.
But it doesn't fit to be in there because I haven't worked with it that often. Yeah. What would yours be?
My least favorite to work with?
Mm-hmm.
Pre-made cork.
Pre-made anything?
Pre-made cork. Period.
Why
And
pre-made cork so much? You had a lot of hate on pre-made cork tonight.
it's the quality. Because when I get a pre-made handle, because I've done it before, like everybody has. Sometimes you just got to get it done. Like, is what it is. I'm still going to modify the shape of that handle. The moment you start sanding on a pre-made cork handle, you might as well have gone out there and grabbed a wasp nest and made it a handle with as brittle and ugly as it looks once you start sanding off the wood filler and finish that they put on it. You take a pre-made handle and don't touch it, looks good. Might stay that way, might wear off. But you start sanding it and trying to modify it, it starts looking like shit. That's why it's my least favorite. You can't modify it without having to do more work.
Well, I mean, you got to think about the quality they're buying, though. They're not after the best quality.
I get it. They're after mass production.
Yeah, that's different. That's the reason why.
That's why it's my least favorite, because it can't be modified easily without having to do more work to it to repair what you just did.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
So it'd go pre-made cork, those pre-made foam handles that have quote-unquote burl, where it's really like a rubber glue mix.
Like the rubberized stuff.
Then foam, then wood, then cork, then birch bark, then leather.
So both of our favorites is leather.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. It looks so good.
I like it. Well, and a lot of people were questioned it, like how's it gonna hold up, and it's just like
Why don't you go ask the cows in the field how they hold up.
Well, it's just like a good pair of leather boots. Like
Just take care of them.
You gotta oil them and waterproof them like once or twice a year.
Give them a little massage.
They're fine. Once it's sealed.
A little bit of snow seal, a little bit of washing.
And the good news about it is just like they're one of the easiest things that can be replaced if anything ever happens to them, because they're just mine are stitched on.
And you can just stitch them
So
back.
you just cut it off and put another one on, and it's like it never happened.
But then again, I'm also the type that I'll spend $200-$400 on a good pair of boots and take care of them.
Well,
and
yeah,
I'll do the same for a fishing rod. I'll spend the money on good quality leather to put on a fishing rod and take care of it. Because it's going to last.
Mm-hmm. But, it's also a feel thing for people in their hand. So some people aren't going to like it. I totally understand it. Some people, it's like some people prefer EVA over cork, and some people prefer cork over EVA, and,
Is there a material that you've found that you cannot customize the same way as the others we've talked about?
Not one that I've worked with, no.
Okay.
I don't know of anything off the top of my head right this second.
I wonder. You know how they laminate all the rubber pieces together?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you could take, like, obviously new insoles, laminate them down, make a block.
Why not?
And then make a grip out of that. What it would feel like.
I don't know. Try it. People have stacked jeans impregnated with resin.
That's another material that we haven't touched on. I've seen stacked denim grips.
Now, I don't remember if it was for fishing rods, but I do know that they have made them for knives. Mm-hmm. Like the Bacardi knife material
Micarta.
Handles. What is it called?
Micarta.
Micarta. Like, it looks like fish scales almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like an acrylic style.
You could use all kinds of... Anything from knife making could be transformed over to rod building, because it's still something that's going to be touched constantly and used. Can you think of anything else as far as custom grips, as far as a material standpoint?
Really, no. I just feel like, for custom grips, like when you're thinking about the rod that you're building, what's the best material? What does the customer want? What do you want? If it's your rod, how do you want it to feel in your hand? And sometimes a lot of it is just going to be like the shape of the material and how the handle is supposed to be. So I don't really feel like there's anything that you can't use within reason versus, what you should use. It's personal preference for that.
So one thing we haven't touched on, with any grip that you're putting on a custom built fishing rod, regardless of the shape or texture or material, what's the number one thing to consider when making that grip?
The hand size
of
the person going to be using it.
Why?
Because your hand might be smaller, or your hand might be bigger if you're trying to use your hand as a guide for that individual. And being able to grasp it, you want to make sure it's comfortable in your hand. Well, their hand.
Why does that matter?
Because your hand will get tired.
Have you had that happen before?
Not on ours, no.
Well, no, I'm saying have you had that happen before in general in the rods that you have used? Because we've got store-bought rods sitting over there.
No for rods, but I can tell you for hammers, yes. If the
That's why you have the little mini hammer.
no, that one somebody just gave me, but there's a particular red hammer that we have that's real skinny handled, and I can't stand it because my hand wraps around it too
That's
much.
the one I'm talking about.
I thought you were talking about the little short one I have.
No, I was talking about the one you sent our son with.
That's
the
the
other
first one I
day.
found. Sorry, is what it is. It's a
I
hammer.
grabbed it and went.
I know it's the pain in the butt hammer because it makes your hand hurt because the handle is too small.
Because it doesn't fit properly.
It tires your hand out quicker.
Which there is a book available that teaches you all about fishing rod grip ergonomics.
Which is just a fancy word for what is
how
most
it
comfortable.
fits, like how to do the measurements, how to do the math, how to figure it out based on what you need information from.
And it's like a couple measurements of their
It's
hand.
like $15. Like if you don't have that, what are you doing?
I want to take a minute to thank our sponsors, and American Tackle. They are like just a great company to work for, and definitely into trying to get the kids into the fishing industry because they had out, was it 2 iCasts ago, where they came up with the kids model that they had, and it did really well. But check that rod out. It's really, really fun color, and it got great feedback from the public.
So thank you everybody for watching and listening on whatever platform you're listening on, be it Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, whatever way you're listening and or watching and enjoying all of our shenanigans. But thank you everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.